which is kind of ticking me off a little bit. Oh yeah, that's going to be a big fat stack of Japanese just wiped out here shortly.
Yeah, we just pinched them entirely here.
Yes, the good old textbook Manchu rebels rising up when they least expect it, and then surrounding them in Mengkuoko and exterminating them tactic. It's the oldest trick in the book.
I should have seen it coming.
It should have seen it coming, really. Like, come on.
This is what happens when you let your young officers try and dictate policy in China.
This exact thing is what happens.
Yep. I try and push my students on this every time.
Yeah, this is what you'll teach them. Like, don't do this if you're imperialist Japan.
I'm just waiting for the mythical version of the reality of the world where I get a tenure track position, which isn't going to happen. And then in like 30 years, and I'm senile and teaching, and I start mixing in like Hearts of Iron campaigns into my lectures because I just can't tell anymore.
And you're tenure, so who cares?
Yeah, right. And it doesn't matter at that point. But no, I'm not going to kid myself to think that tenure is a realistic thing. Yeah, more likely that Mengkuoko will reemerge as a state. Don't look it up, guys. Wow. Well, GG China. We just cleaned up the Japanese. Look at that.
Yeah. Well, let's hope we don't start infighting before the Japanese are gone.
Yeah, I like that China took that territory, not me.
Yeah, it's kind of based on some funky things, isn't it? Dangerous naval invasions. Oh, yeah, it's the Japanese really pushing hard into Papua New Guinea.
Tragic.
Oh, that was a lot of guys that just went down the drain there. Yeah. About 100,000 Japanese were just killed or captured in that area over there.
Oof.
That's rough.
Look at the war here. Yeah, Japan's already down 434,000. I'm
Yeah.
down 19,000.
I've lost 42,000 men, which isn't great, but yeah, if you hover over casualties on Japan, you can see who caused those casualties. 211,000 were from China, 153,000 were from me, and then 69,000 nice were from you.
Here, I'm gonna try help you with this little pocket here.
Yeah.
It's good that you're good at this game, because, like, I am not, pro gamer by any stretch of the I'm glad at least one of us knows what's going on.
I kind of know. That's the important thing. I just kind of know. Uh-oh. There's about to be some conflict here. I'm moving in to try to take this territory before they can swoop in. I don't know if they will be able to get there first, though. Yep, they got there first. Oh, well.
So it might be better, actually, if I just move my guys to the Korean border instead.
Yeah, the Korean border is the one that's looking really iffy. China itself, the nationalist Chinese, look like they want to help me with this.
Off we go.
This is going to be really interesting when we don't have any naval forces to get into Japan itself. And so now we have to decide if we want to send our guys through the Soviet Union to go beat up the Germans and the Italians. Just like they did in World War II.
Yeah, that was something I always irked me about this game, was the ability to just right-click on, like, a continent away, and your guys are like, yeah, I can march that. And they just go. It's just like, oh, all right. Off you go.
I guess. Sure. See you in about a year.
Oh, yeah. Looks like Germany's pushing back. But, I mean, they're fighting on a few different fronts.
The classic German technique. Fight on as many fronts as possible to confuse them. I am surprised at how well this went.
I didn't think it was going to happen, really.
We're going to go back to the start of this stream after it's done recording, and it's just going to be, like, we're talking doom and gloom. 2 hours in, we've killed, like, almost 500,000 Japanese, pushed them out of China almost entirely. We're pushing into Korea now. Like, if you had told me this was going to happen, I would have been very surprised.
Just gotta keep it up to liberate our Korean brothers.
I actually don't know what that looks like for me after this point, because it might Be I might try to annex them. I don't know how that looks.
It looks very warlordish. I think the end goal is you're supposed to fight the nationalists after this, right, and reclaim the entire thing. Although that might be ugly if that means
Yeah.
leaving the allied faction.
Well, I can offer them subjugation, which means that they become my vassal.
Yeah, Chingachecks will be all over that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that one. These guys down here in Liaotung are probably crapping their pants right now. Like, they're just they weren't expecting this a few months ago. I think this whole thing kicked off in March, didn't it? This all happened really fast.
It has been really quick. Like, it helped that you had those 60 days of like bonuses, and you just got to mop up a lot of little things, and then we squished them in Beijing. Then relieved Inner Mongolia there.
As this is happening, I'm going to take a look at some of the other countries here. Oh, so here's something interesting. It looks like Alf Landon is the new president of the U.S., and they're planning on intervening in Europe. So we'll see what happens there. The French look like they might be going communist, actually. Yeah, the French are going to go communist. So I think what this might turn into is a brawl between us, the remnants of the Axis powers, and the Soviets at the same time.
Yes, the new Qing Empire, which incorporates Siberia and Manchuria. Yeah, why not? This is feeding into 1918 anti-red propaganda.
Except it's exactly what's ended up happening here.
Trying to look here in the Mediterranean now, trying to see these naval battles. Looks like the British fleet is smacking down the Italians whenever they pop up.
Well, that's good. It looks like the Greeks are doing really well against them, actually.
Yeah, they're holding fast, aren't they? They're moving into Albania. With some Indian help and British help. I also love the, what is this, like 30 divisions they have stuck in Sudan.
In Sudan? What?
If you look down there,
That's a lot of guys, yeah.
That's just a lot sitting down there attacking Italian Ethiopia.
The South Africans haven't done anything. Actually, Portugal is another state that got a unique focus tree recently. Are they doing anything funky? They also have not chosen any political thing yet, so that's interesting. We might see a fascist Portugal pop up now, and then Spain's going to just come down on them and crush them immediately.
I love seeing the 43% communist ideology in their little bubble here.
In Portugal?
Yep.
Oh, interesting. We might see a big... we might see a big communist democratic scuffle in Europe here soon.
Yeah, this is...
Just like happened in real life.
But, I mean, it's fun because Salazar, like, he was, super anti-communist because he was an economics guy, and that was his whole deal already. He had this very, like, utilitarian, scholarly form of authoritarianism. But, like, when the actual fascists popped up in Portugal, they were violently crushed too. Like, no, can't be that fascist. Can't be communist. Can't be that fascist. You gotta
Too
be
fascist.
My special brand of Portuguese authoritarian. But like, I love seeing the 43% communist. That was actually one of the earliest memories I have is being in Portugal in like the 90s, and we're driving through the town, and the Communist Party headquarters still has the hammer and sickle flag waving, and I like, oh, I've never seen that flag before. It's bright and whatnot. But I was like a little kid. And I just didn't connect what that meant. And like, oh yeah, like the post 74 revolution, right? The communists had a big chance of actually gaining control there, right? Because they're the forever opposition to the fascists, or not fascist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Portuguese authoritarian pseudo-fascist dictatorship.
Kind of fascists, yeah. Uh,
Fascistic.
well, I have a similar-ish story. Kind of grim, but why not? So, I've lived nearish DC for most of my life, and so I was in elementary school when 9/11 happened, and
Right.
the way that the teachers brought that up to us was probably the worst way possible, because they said, "Kids, something terrible has happened. You're gonna go home early," and so all of us started cheering for 9/11 inadvertently.
Sounds like a Simpsons sketch.
Yeah, we didn't we didn't know, obviously. I got home later that day, and even at the tender young age of 6, I was like, "Oh, that's a little awkward." All right, I got some national foci done, so I'm gonna check out what to do now. Offer vassalization. I don't want to do that yet. I feel like that's gonna start a war with the nationalists, and I don't want that.
You gotta be positioned better first, right?
Yeah. Oh, I can cooperate with the British, and they'll give me some good things, such as Burma. They're not going to give me Burma, but they're going to increase my infrastructure, I think.
Well, Burma Road, so increase infrastructure between India and China, right?
Maybe. I don't know. There's a lot going on here.
Helping out the Chiang Kai-shek.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to go with Imperial Divinity, which means that my people will be less upset about a war happening, because now I'm a god and I told them to.
You're going down a tragic path, Puyi. Don't become that what you sought to destroy.
I can still prepare to seize Japanese arm depots? How does that work? I guess it's because there's still some Japanese forces in my country.
Yeah,
I
take
guess.
them
Gonna increase war support.
Looks like we're winning all the battles except one along the Korean border, which is nice.
Yeah, I'm not even the one that's pushing there right now. I should throw my guys in there also. There we go.
I think it's me and Chang for the most part. Hey, there's the rest of you.
So Mengkuoko has capitulated. That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
You have lost a surprisingly few amount of guys already. The British have lost 146,000 men already. What the hell is happening?
I'm being selective with my attacks.
146,000? UK, what do you do? Oh, they're doing the dumb thing. They're attacking into the mountains down there in Greece, but out of Greece into Albania, and they're just throwing themselves at the Italian troops there.
Come on, guys. I also have to imagine they're losing some attrition in East Africa, right?
Maybe if they're set up there and they're not doing anything, it might be okay for them. But once they get to moving around, it gets worse. They are fighting the Italians there, and it looks like they're not making a really concerted effort to push them out. What do you think? Let's recreate modern Chinese imperialist things and just start colonizing it. Italian Somaliland.
You're just getting a jump start on everybody, aren't you? Is it gonna turn into we were the bad guys the whole time thing?
Maybe.
Well, I guess they're bad guys against bad. Like imperialism's bad. Everybody.
Don't do this, kids. If you're watching at home, don't do this. Don't be an imperialist, which is pretty much everyone in this game, actually. except for the anarchists who are anarcho-imperialists. I get they want to export the revolution, so I don't know what that looks like.
It's supposed to happen organically, right? Once the revolution happens, then everyone else will see how good it is, and they will inadvertently launch their own coups and their own revolutions.
Right.
Therefore, to do anything.
But the tree in this game basically means that anarchist Spain continually just declares war on everyone else to go help the people in their countries fight against the menace of government, I guess, as a whole. I'm not super familiar with the Spanish anarchist beliefs. Spanish anarchist beliefs. I don't know what their whole thing was.
Unfortunately, I have to claim ignorance there as well. I'm not too up on various sub-factions of the Spanish Civil War.
Yeah. Sorry, go listen to someone else on that one. We'll do an episode on that eventually, I guess. Because there are a few games that actually cover the Spanish Civil War, in addition to this one. I think that Order of Battle also has some Spanish Civil War stuff going on in it.
Interesting, because I would like to. And, okay, for my comprehensive, I'd read, like, 3 books on the Spanish Civil War, and that was, like, 3 years ago. So I'm fuzzy. But I have the books, and I can dig them back out again and go through them all again. Because I would love to talk about the Spanish Civil War as a topic in gaming, because it is still a hot topic in Spain for dredging up old wounds, right? Because when Franco died and everyone's kind of like quietly ended the authoritarianism, no one talked about the war or what happened, the repression that happened as a result of the war, right? It just wasn't something you did because it was still like it's fresh, right? People are still smarting from it. People that they like their family were the ones who suffered in this. So just now you're starting to see more of a concerted effort by people in Spain to open up and talk about this, and that includes media. So there was a Spanish game that came out talking about it, and there was a bit of a kerfuffle in the Spanish media because the daughter of the first man executed by the Francoist rebels complained that the game started with her father being shot. And that's still something that they had an issue with. And that's perfectly reasonable to have an issue with that. But it also brings us to questions of, representing historical realities in media and what that means. So Spain has a lot of a reckoning to do with that war and how they represent it, how they handle it.
Oh, we cut the Japanese off from their port here. That's going to be it for them.
You fought well, boys.
Well, let's not compliment them. The Chinese just gave me some some forces on loan, and they're in the British Raj. They're in Bombay. What? I don't want your guys if they're that far away. Get them out of here, China. No, can't return expedition. You don't have any expedition. How can I? I don't want your guys.
Yeah, just leave them there.
I don't want your guys, China. Okay, I'm just gonna assign all of you to this new division I'm creating explicitly of Chinese recruits. And because you're not my guys, I'm gonna send you in to the meat grinder so I don't have to send mine in. That's moral, right?
Yeah.
Why is he in Bombay?
Making sure the Burma Road that doesn't need to exist is going smoothly?
I guess.
Yeah, future podcast topic. Spanish Civil War in gaming. There are a lot of good board games that deal with it.
I am not a huge board game guy, unfortunately. I don't have a huge collection. I never really had much back when I was a boy. So,
Yeah, it was a relatively new thing for my wife and I. Like a couple of years ago, we went to a board game cafe and actually had a lot of fun. So we started looking at it and getting into it. And now we've got an entire bookshelf full of them. That
nice.
Probably shouldn't still have, but I do. I've been slowly acquiring more and more war games, like physical war games, to put on that shelf. And one of them is the Spanish Civil War game, which it's very abstract, but it has interesting phase in the beginning where you are taking turns with the opposing team to put down little centers of control. So the rebellion will happen differently every time you play the game. It's a good one. It's interesting. It's very abstracted and mathematical, but it's a good game.
Math games are fine. The Spanish Civil War in this game is modeled kind of similarly, where the centers of resistance will be different based on the actions that you and the AI playing as before they're like their own state. They're also kind of trying to incite rebellions in various areas, so you have to try to stamp those out. But as Spain itself, you don't have enough resources to stamp all of it out, so you have to decide where those lines are going to be drawn by the time the Civil War happens.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a similar system to the board game does.
What's the name of it?
Let me look at my shelf here.
Yeah, you have time. Nothing important's happening.
Popular Front.
Popular Front. Yeah, that sounds about right. Let's go ahead.
If we're going to talk about board games, we can set up Vassal and play some.
I have never used Vassal, so that would be an interesting experience.
I hadn't either until another guy I speak to told me like we should play a game on it. So I downloaded it. It's pretty straightforward. It's pretty easy. So we can look into that. Because I think we've already had a few comments on our podcast asking for more board game stuff too.
Already? It's been like 3 days. Wow. Look at us. Look at us. Who would have thought?
Well, it's interesting because the board games are so small as like companies, right? That they can produce whatever they want. They don't have to worry about the issues we talked about.
That's true.
So you get some interesting takes on games. Like I talked to my friend and colleague Justin Pike about a board game I saw about the war in Burma, and we didn't play it, but we just read the back of the box in the shop, and the description in the back of that game was word for word the 30-year-old totally disproven pro Joseph Stilwell narrative.
Oh boy,
that's really interesting. That's what they're pushing, and that's what they're basing this game on. So we didn't get a chance to play. So I want to see if that would be reflected in how the game is presented. But the back of the box was like word for word out of a 1978 book. Oh wow, this is outdated. So yeah, board games are a whole different can of worms.
Yeah,
but one that still has a role to play in how people are engaging with these historical conflicts, right?
Yeah, and it's a different spectrum, definitely, and they're not beholden to the same rules that we talked about, really, because, like, yeah, as you said, they don't have to appeal to as many people. The sales look different, so they can be more controversial, which is, I think, why there are more board games about the this period. Some people sent me some games that happened during the period, and it's certainly more risky than anything video games are doing right now.
Yeah, because I think we're talking about this, right? Like, if you're small enough, if you do tabletop board games like the painting miniatures and all that, your customers will come to you. Like, if I say I have a line of Second Sino-Japanese War 15mm pewter figures, people will find me if they want that, right?
Yeah. Oh boy. There's 9 Japanese divisions here, about to go under the overwhelming weight of 38 divisions. We're about to come crushing down on it. Wait a minute. We have planes? Who has planes on our side? Huh?
The nationalists? Maybe they got some lend-lease.
I don't know.
It's Chino.
Yeah, China. China, Australia, Canada, and South Africa all have planes in this area right now.
Oh, there's a different Canadian involvement in East Asia. That's fascinating. That's fun.
Okay, here comes the crush down on the Japanese here. We're finally gonna push them out of China altogether. We're gonna be pushing them down and out of Korea. Look at the push in Korea. That's fascinating.
Yeah, that was me. What do you call it? Microwing 1 unit down to Seoul, just so I was the first guy in there. We took Pyongyang and no one was around, so we're just like, okay, let's go.
That's the way to do it.
I was hoping we could cinch off this little nubbin here, but it didn't quite happen.
It looks like it's about to happen there. Around the eastern part of North Korea, they're going to get cut off. And it doesn't look like they have a port either, so they can't escape. They can't get resupplied or anything.
But it's a good thing they took the Solomons, I guess.
very tactical. Are there any resources to get in the Solomons? I'm gonna pull up my little
No, there
resource. Not most.
there weren't.
There's nothing. There's nothing there.
They took the Solomons to have air bases to attack shipping. Like it wasn't. There's no. That was not one of the resource islands.
I'm wondering why they did that now. Is the thing? I guess they just wanted to get closer to Australia because it looks like they are beating the Australians. And pardon me, I just sneezed. They're beating up the Australians. Thank you in Papua New Guinea there, but
Yeah, I
they
mean,
are. They've lost so many men. They've lost so many men up here in China. Like what you have to question what the point is at this point. Like Japan has lost this war unless something radical happens.
so have they put anything in there to fix the "we have to take Tokyo" thing, or are we gonna like is the war gonna go on, or once we kick them off the mainland, is that gonna do like a peace option?
So because it is a multi-front war now, we have to worry about all of the belligerents in this case, all of the
Oh,
major belligerents. So Japan is a different animal because it's a different faction. So once we can convince them to surrender, that'll be that. I don't think we will be able to until people start doing bombing runs on the country, though, because bombing runs can reduce the stability of a country. Because you need to get the stability below a certain point in order to convince them to surrender. Because you can see on their little bar there, there's 0% towards capitulation. They don't give a damn about what we're doing right now because none of this is their core territory. Um,
I mean that's not
yeah,
how that's open.
I'm looking at the thing here. It says offer peace to this country. Can't do it because war has only been going for 4 of the 6 months. You are not war
Yep,
leader for the losing side, obviously. Um,
they'll
war
bounce
score.
back for sure.
War score in favor for the other side must be at least 50%. Currently 0. So I think they have to offer us peace, and I don't know if they will, because I would say I think it would be fitting in the Japanese mindset at the time to not give up the war if we just throw all their guys out. They'd probably come back and try again.
I mean, okay, yeah, we want to get into end of war Japanese ridiculous decision making. Yeah, they weren't going to surrender. But I mean, this is a clear loss of the war in China. This is like their main thing that they were aiming for being completely undone.
Yeah, but they are also siding with the Italians and the Germans now. So like you do have to keep that in mind is that they do have foreign support going on. And there goes the last Japanese forces in China. Um, that
Yeah.
was I don't know how many men that was. I didn't keep track. 66,000 men. Good lord.
Man,
Man.
it's gonna
Men.
be a mess. Looks like we've hit my limit at Seoul.
Okay, well my big army is coming down now. My 24 division army is coming down. That was working on those guys up there. And my other 19 division army is coming down. What am I going to do with these guys now?
Stack up on the Chinese border,
Maybe. We'll see.
or prep the long march to Poland.
I don't think the Soviets would let us through. Is this well? Actually, if the Iranians and the Turks let us through, we could go through India, I guess.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm actually going to zoom in over there and see if there's any strange guys over there. So here's some Greeks, British Raj. So there's Indians fighting over here, which I guess makes sense because they're not tied up with fighting Japanese on the home front that they would go over here.
Mm.
The Brits are having a little bit of trouble with the Italians actually around Egypt. The Egyptians seize, sorry, not the Egyptians. The Italians seized the Suez Canal.
Oh, look at that.
Uh-oh. There goes Warsaw.
So I don't think the text of Poland didn't stand a chance really applies this time. They fought hard.
Yeah, well, I think I think that the British aren't really throwing a lot of guys at them in mainland Europe. They're certainly not putting any men in Poland to help the Poles with. All of them are south. They're in Romania. They're in Greece, but they're not in Poland itself. if France joined the fight, then it would be a completely different ballgame. But France is not doing that. France is celebrating the commune currently, is what they're doing, because they're becoming steadily more communist. And I guess it's just a question of when they decide to go communist.
Yeah, with a full communist like Franco Iberia and a Russia that has